You know, some of the most important inventions in history were complete accidents. And today, we're going to talk about one that you've probably seen, maybe even worn yourself, the plaster cast.
Hell, you curious about health? Hell, wanna learn without the stress? Hell, welcome to Cartooklity.
It's an amazing story about how a simple, ancient building material ended up becoming a total game changer on the battlefield. So let's get into it.
Okay, first I want you to just try and imagine something for me. Picture it's the 1800s. You're out and about and you slip, you fall, snap. You've broken your arm. Forget about a nice, clean hospital. What happens next is, frankly, a nightmare. The options they had back then were crude, unbelievably painful, and a lot of the time just plain dangerous.
So, before we had the modern cast, the main way doctors treated a broken bone was with something called a splint. But as you're about to see, calling this thing a solution is being, well, very generous. For most patients, it was just the start of a whole new world of pain.
And this right here really shows you the giant leap we're talking about. I mean, look at the difference. On one side, you have these rough pieces of wood and leather straps, and on the other, a smooth, form-fitting cast. For so many people back then, that leap wasn't just an upgrade. It was the difference between healing properly and facing amputation.
Here's the bottom line. Wooden splints were just terrible at their one job. They simply could not hold a broken bone still enough for it to heal properly. So you'd end up with bones setting all wrong, leaving people with permanent deformities. And even worse, those tight bindings would cut off circulation or rub the skin raw, leading to horrible infections. And this is way before antibiotics, remember. It was a painful, risky mess.
Okay, so here's where the story gets really interesting. The answer to this huge medical problem wasn't some brand new high-tech discovery. Nope, it was an ancient material, a simple powder that people have been using for totally different things for literally thousands of years. It was hiding right under their noses the whole time.
And that powder is Plaster of Paris. You've probably heard of it. It all comes from a mineral called gypsum. You heat the gypsum up, it turns into this fine white powder, and then when you add water, boom, a chemical reaction kicks in and it hardens up like a rock. And why is it called Plaster of Paris? Well, simple enough. The area around Paris had massive, amazing deposits of gypsum, so it became the center of production back in the 1700s.
This is what's so wild. Think about it. The ancient Egyptians were using this stuff to help build the pyramids. Renaissance artists were making incredible sculptures with it. For centuries, it was a go-to material for construction and art because it was cheap, strong, and you could mold it into anything. But its medical potential? Nobody saw it. Not yet.
The whole story changes in the middle of the 19th century, and the setting couldn't be more intense. A military field hospital. It's here, surrounded by the absolute chaos and carnage of battle, that a Dutch surgeon has this flash of insight, an idea that would change medicine forever.
And this is our guy, Antonius Mathijsen. It's 1851, and he's a military surgeon who is just completely fed up with the terrible splints he has to use on wounded soldiers. He just knew there had to be a better way to hold a broken bone in place, something that could fit the body perfectly.
Now, what's so brilliant about this is how simple it was. See, other people had tried using wet plaster, but it was a nightmare. Messy, slow to set, just a disaster. Mathijsen's big idea was to flip the process. He rubbed the dry plaster powder into the bandages first. Then he'd wrap the limb with those dry bandages, and only then would he add the water. The cast hardened right there on the patient, creating a perfect custom-made shell in minutes.
And the benefits were obvious, like immediately. Mathijsen's method was way faster, which is absolutely critical on a chaotic battlefield. It held the bone way more securely than any splint ever could. And because it was a custom fit, it was actually a lot more comfortable for the soldier, which meant less pain and less risk of further injury.
An invention this good couldn't stay a secret, right? Especially not with the constant, desperate need for better medical tools on the front lines. So war, as awful as it is, became the ultimate testing ground for the plaster cast, and it's what really pushed it into the mainstream.
And the adoption was lightning fast. Just about 20 years after he invented it in 1851, the plaster cast was being used all over the place during the Franco-Prussian War. And by the time you get to the huge world wars in the early 1900s, it was just standard procedure on battlefields everywhere.
And right here, this is the most important part of the whole story. The plaster cast saved limbs. Countless of them. Before this, if a soldier suffered a really bad break, especially in a leg, amputation was pretty much a guarantee.
But now, doctors could set and stabilize that bone right there in the field, giving that soldier a real shot at healing and keeping their limb.
So what starts as this accidental discovery gets perfected on the battlefield, quickly becomes a pillar of everyday medicine, and then, in a funny twist, it finds its way back into all sorts of other industries, kind of completing its weird, incredible journey.
I mean, we still think of it for broken bones, but plaster of Paris is literally all around us. Dentists use it to make molds of your teeth. It's in the walls of our houses. Theaters use it for props. And, of course, artists are still using it for sculptures, just like they did thousands of years ago.
And that's its true legacy, isn't it? Even now, with all our modern materials like fiberglass, the good old plaster cast is still used all the time. And why? Because it's cheap, it's easy, and it just plain works. It's this fantastic reminder that sometimes the biggest, most lasting solutions are also the simplest ones. It really gets you thinking, doesn't it? When you see how a common powder used for buildings completely changed medicine, you just have to wonder, what other simple, everyday things are all around us right now, just waiting for the right person and the right idea to turn them into the next world-changing breakthrough?
Like never before. Click subscribe. Come take a peek. It's smart, it's fun. It's cartoon.